Hi everybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Persona 4 Golden. In the last part, we were talking to Namatame and finding out his side of the story, and what happened with him, how he found out about his abilities and all that kind of shit. So, in this part, we are going to be continuing listening to Namatame, at least for the early part of this part. And we're gonna be finding out what his thought process find out what his thought process was, basically.
Before I was married, my wife made it big in show business. I was happy for her.
So yeah, basically, the stuff that we found out about so far, I think is pretty much
it was around that time when I met Mayumi.
that
She was interviewing
he found out about his he found out about the death of this woman he was having an affair with, called Mayumi Yamano. And then after that, he found out about, he saw the image of Saki Kanishi on his TV as well, and so he tried to stop that, but failed.
Yet another girl appeared on TV. That was you.
Point. There's no point. At least there wasn't a point. That's better at the very least. So this time he was trying. So now he sees Yukiko on the TV.
My opponent was a murderer who left no clues to his identity. I thought hard about
so this time he's gonna try, and this is the first time I think he actually tries to do something about it in terms of because basically he's being what am I trying to say? Sorry. Basically, this is the first instance, I think, where he tries to do something physically himself, as opposed to, you know, trying to convince other people of what is going on, if you know what I mean. He's trying to, you know, it's the first time he tries to do something himself rather than telling other people and hoping that they will do something about it.
Things calm down, I could just let her out again. If she's inside the TV,
yeah, which I will say it's fairly sound logic, I guess. The fact that, because he's the only one who thinks that at this point in time, he's the only one who thinks he can do something about it, if you know what I mean. Like, he's the only one, he thinks he's the only one who has these powers because he doesn't know anybody else who has them. So, yeah, at least to me it does make sense that he would, you know, it's only logical, I guess, that he would think, okay, I can put her in the TV, and then I can, once the kill is gone, I can let her out again. And so I think, at least from that standpoint, from a logical standpoint of why would he think that this would be a good idea, it does kind of check out at the very least, that it, you know, it makes sense, which is, you know, good at least. But then again, Chie has a point as well, that he never really, it just seems as if he doesn't. On the one hand, that does make logical sense, but as Chie kind of points out, it's kind of like, did you really not consider that the other world is could be a dangerous place? Did you not stop and think for 5 minutes?
If a person is still within the TV world when the fog appears here, they will die.
And this is where he finally gets the knowledge bomb. The knowledge bombshell dropped on him fully. That what he was actually doing was putting people into severe danger. Then why didn't you stop, you stupid asshole?
The first time, I had some doubts about myself.
Which is a fair point, I guess. It's a fair point.
The police were after me, so I had to get away. But I still felt I needed to do everything I could to save that poor little girl. That's why I went in after her. But the TV...
Yeah, so finally we've come full circle, and at least we know...
Such an abominable,
Um,
place. I knew that the three
it's
of
kind
you
of an
who I
interesting way to
saved
do
went
it,
back to
I
your
guess,
normal lives, so
that, you know, now
I
we
didn't
know
realize
kind
how
of
terrible
his
that world
motivations
was.
for why he did what he
I
did,
never knew.
and the
You
fact
couldn't
that...
even get out of
And
that
it also
place on
makes
your
logical
own.
sense, I think, from his logic,
That's a cowardly way to put it.
that what he was
I'd
doing
probably
was
already
the
begun
right
to
thing to
realize that
do,
it
or
was
what
a
he
dangerous
felt
place.
was...
If
Or
I
what he...
hadn't, I wouldn't have gone
What are
to
you
see
doing?
all.
What he was doing, he
See us?
felt,
Wait,
was the right thing to do.
Yes.
And yeah, and here's the
I
little
wanted to
revelation
know
as
why
well,
the
that
ones I
right at
saved were all
the...
hanging out with each
because
other, and how much you remember.
they showed someone,
But in the end,
while we were
I couldn't
backstage
bring
at
myself
the
to say
Jeunesse
anything
concert,
and ran home.
it showed a guy
I must
in
have
a,
felt too guilty.
like a baseball cap, kind of in the
All the
background and then
doubts
slowly
and
walking
anxieties
off,
I'd
which
been unconsciously
Yosuke
suppressing
noticed.
exploded out when I entered the television
but-
myself.
And so here it's
I
kind
thought
of
I was
explained that
going
that was
insane.
Namatame thinking that
Probably did.
he wanted to go and
You know
talk
the
to
rest.
all the
When I
people
came to,
to find
I
out
was
what the
lying
hell
in
was
a
going
hospital
on,
bed.
and, you know, to find out,
You really were trying to save
I guess to
someone.
try and... Because I guess he was having
But I
sort
ended
of
up doing
doubts at
just
that
the
point,
opposite.
inward doubts about what he was doing,
I always
and he
wanted
just
to
wanted
enter
to
the
go
world
to
of
them and
politics
just check
and
that
become useful to society.
they were okay and all that, and I guess
But after
checking
losing
out
my
at the last
job
minute.
and the woman I loved, all I had left was this power. I convinced myself that world was some
Yes,
sort of sanctuary.
they do. I think
I
the
believed
writers
myself to be a
do a
hero.
fairly decent job here of kind of making him a sympathetic character. That, you know, this is a guy
I never
who
doubted what I saw
clearly
on
was just
TV.
trying to
I
do
believed
the right
everything
thing,
was as I
but,
wanted it to be.
you know,
I just didn't
didn't
think for
understand
myself
fully
at all.
what he was messing
That's
with,
why I couldn't
basically.
protect them.
It's an interesting way of
Came
going
for
about it,
all
I
this.
think. So, what's done is done.
I suppose so.
As long as you know what's going on now and don't do anything so stupid ever again, you stupid asshole. But of course it does.
Intentions of running away from my crimes. I'm prepared to face the consequences. Kidnapping is already.
It
a
does
serious
bring
crime.
forth the point of
On top of that, I put all those
why
lives in danger.
did he think
I'm
he's not
sorry.
the killer? So obviously we still need to find a killer.
The Midnight
Plus the other
Channel
thing
and
is,
Another World, he
how
can hardly be blamed for failing to
how-
understand them properly.
how did he come to these
We must
conclusions?
apologize to you as
Because it's
well.
not fully explained, I
Had
don't
we
think
let our
here.
emotions blind
that,
us to the truth, we would have piled
of
all
how
the
he's
responsibility
taught-
on you.
You know, of
I guess from your point of view,
he couldn't have come to these
Stop
conclusions
dying
on
once
his
you
own that
started
he's just going
saving
to
people.
save people.
the more you did it, the more you
There
really
had to be
believed
an
you were
outside
preventing their
influence.
deaths.
That's all I'll say at this point. Is that
Such a
you know, you would have
joke.
thought logically there would have to be an outside influence to
sorry.
kind of push him in the right
I'm
direction, if
getting
you know what I
a
mean.
little tired.
Fair enough, dude.
Crammed in here for?
My apologies. We'll be leaving now.
Wait,
Yep, time for us to go.
I beg you.
It's time to
please
fuck off.
find whoever's behind
Before we
this.
get arrested
You
ourselves.
children are the only ones who know about that world.
That's our plan, dude. We're gonna stop this asshole, no matter what.
It's all clear now. He never committed any murders. It was another party who threw the first two
Yeah.
victims into the TV.
We're still not done. So that's our second red herring. First one was the Mitsuo Kubo kind of murders, where he tried to take a responsibility for all the murders.
I told you, he's almost ready to be
And then
transported.
the whole
can't have anything else
Namatame
happen.
thing is another red herring,
Better not see you
making you
rest
think
here
that he was the killer, but no. They are remarkably well done, though, the red herrings, I will say that.
She's in pain. She's fighting for dear life.
So yeah, I think, you know, overall they were well done, so
This
I'm
was
not
the
going to
last
complain
place
too
we
much
saw
about
Teddy, right?
how much of a
I was
kind
so
of,
worried about her.
what's the word I'm looking for?
How can he flake
It's
out
a
like
very,
this when we have to find the real killer?
what's the word?
The police consider the matter closed. We'll have
It's
to
a
do all the
cliche, I guess,
investigation from
for
here on
murder
out.
mysteries, but I think they're
Let's
done quite well
revisit
there, so
Sato-san and
it
Miss
doesn't really matter
Yamano's
too much.
incidents and see if we can turn up fresh details.
So yeah, now we're going to be spending this part, the rest of this part,
I know, but we can't give
and
up.
probably
We're
part of
the
next
only ones
part.
who understand what's
I don't
really
know. I
going
don't know
on.
how long this is
And
actually
you
going to
never know.
take.
People might
But
remember some
we've
things
now got to
now
go
because they've
around,
had so much time to think about
and
it.
we've got to
Let's
do
split
some
up
more
and talk to people all
investigation
over town
about the
tomorrow.
first
We
2
meet up in the
murders
evening to discuss our
to see
findings.
if we can get any new information,
hope we can
if any
find out
new
something
information will
about
come to
Teddy,
light.
too.
I think we might be done by the end of the first part, by the end of this part, just because I remember it being. It took a while to do in game, but it's not going to take. But with a guide in front of you, the actual stuff that you need to show off, which is the legitimate stuff, like the stuff which is strictly necessary, the people you strictly have to talk to. That is, once you get that down, that's fairly quick. So yeah, there are certain people that you have to talk to throughout the town. When you're playing through the game first time, it's pretty much just you talk to every single person in town, in all the various parts of town. So you go to the shopping district north, you go to the shopping district south, you go to Juness, you go to all these various places, and you just keep talking to them. And you just talk to as many people as possible about these murders, and eventually you'll get different dialogue options. So the first, you talk to the woman who tells you that there's a girl in Juness. You talk to the girl in Juness, and she points you to a friend of hers here, who talks about Namatame and Saki Kanishi talking to. That she saw Saki talking to Namatame. That makes perfect sense. That kind of makes you recall it. And so yeah, you talk to her and you ask her about the murders, and then you go off. And you go back to the rest of the group and you talk about the findings. It took me. It takes you a lot longer than I showed it, but they're just like the relevant ones. You have to basically talk to that woman, then talk to the girl in Juness, and then talk to her, the girl just outside of
Actually, in my case, I kept getting bombarded with questions and couldn't get them onto the main subject at all.
just outside of it's in the shopping district north, so you just have to talk to all of them, and
What should we do?
and you will
Well,
once you've got all those dialogues, then
what
you
I
can
meant.
just go to,
Then again,
and then it cuts
guess we
to
might as well
this
take a break.
scene of you talking to the
I'll
gang
have a
and
crab and egg fried
working
rice.
out, okay,
I'll have
what did you
roast pork ramen
actually
with extra
find
noodles.
out? And the answer is, fuck all. No one found out anything, and we're now eating. Because
that our
that seems like the logical thing to do, I
Let's
guess.
share what we learned, even if it wasn't much. So, to sum up, there really was no new information.
So yeah. Basically, in summary, there is no new info. But you would, logically it makes sense because those murders did happen at this point. It's December, so it happened a good 7 or 8 months ago. So you're not likely to get any new information out of it. Really, it's all going to be whether most people have forgotten about it because obviously it's been. They think it's been solved. They thought it was solved with Mitsuo, and now they think it's solved again because the general consensus is that Namatame is the murderer.
Do you have anything, Naoto? Any new
So yeah, it's pretty much there is no new info, and that's pretty much it.
But there must be someone
Logically, we
in
can't
the
think
of
about
material
this.
For this case. The killer must have a connection to both Saki-san and Miss Yamano, as well as be in a position to observe our actions periodically to some extent.
Yes.
Finally, it must be someone who could approach Senpai's house without arousing suspicion.
And also true.
I need some fresh
So
air
yeah,
before
you've got
I
to keep
get
those
more
things,
blunt.
3 things in
Outside.
mind, because coming up we're going to be stepping outside in a minute with Naoto. And you're going to have to think about who it might be. And those three things that Naoto mentioned there are pretty much the keys to working this out.
No wonder
it's got those three things. That it has to be someone who knew Saki and Miss Yamano. It had to be someone in a position of power to be able to have access to all of the various pieces of evidence, so that he or she would never be implicated. And finally, it has to be someone who would be able to get to our house without raising any suspicion. So, this is it, where we go over. They have to have a connection to both Mayumi Yamano and Saki Konishi. The culprit already knows about the other side as well, so he has the same powers. They also knew about Namatame. There were no witnesses. Both letters seem to be delivered directly to your house, so that means that it has to be someone who wasn't suspicious. Yeah, they have to have had some access to the evidence. And so, obviously, who is the most logical? It's Adachi. It has to be Adachi. Because he's a police officer, so he'll have access to all of the various... he'll have access to all the various pieces of evidence. He would have been in contact with... Mayumi Yamano and Saki Konishi because of the fact that they were guarded by the police force. By the way, this only happens here. Those scenes there, they only happen if you max out, if you get Adachi's social link up to number 6 before November.
What about him?
And by the way, that there, you're basically given the choice there. You either tell your friends that you think is Adachi, or you don't tell them anything. If you don't tell them anything, then that can give you access to another ending, which is the accomplice ending. I might as well explain that because you're not going to see it. In the accomplice ending, you basically talk to... you go to Adachi, you talk to him, and he basically gives you a letter, which is all the evidence that it's him. Even then, you can decide to hand it in, and that it puts you along the good ending, I think. But if you decide to burn it, you become his accomplice, and... the end of the world happens.
Regarding Detective Adachi,
yeah. So it's a bit of a very dark ending. But if you think about it, Adachi is pretty much the perfect candidate. The reason being is that he has access to all the evidence. He's had access to the 2 first killings. He could have got rid of any evidence that pointed towards him. And also, because of how seemingly... what's the one I'm looking for here? Because of seemingly how inept he is at his job as well, it's very likely that he's putting that on as a front to basically use that as a way for people to not think about him, if you know what I mean, like to make people go, it couldn't possibly be him. So yeah, and this is another piece of evidence which seems to point to Adachi as well. The fact that Adachi was the one who was guarding her on the night when she went missing at the Amagi Inn, which is more evidence pointing towards that he did it.
But I thought, that's just how cops are. So I didn't think it had anything to do with the case.
Detective Adachi also questions Saki-san.
And he also questions Saki
on numerous occasions.
Which is, you would think it's logical because they're investigating it, but also it gives him a lot of it gives you a lot of reasons.
Then you think he had something
Yeah, there's a lot. Naoto said it best there, actually. The fact that she had such a strong alibi would suggest that she wouldn't need to be called in as much as she was by Adachi. So that would suggest that he's got an ulterior motive other than just finding out as much about the crime, much about the killing of Mayumi Amino as possible. And the fact that she was the next victim kind of adds fuel to that fire. I said that. And there you go.
Then, is it really a Adachi-san?
So, yeah. We need to confirm this. I don't think it matters what you click on there. I think at this point you're cinched into the
This is Naoto Shirogane.
to the best
Something
ending.
has occurred to me about the case, and I'd like to get Detective Adachi's input on it. Huh? The transport? It's
Okay.
right now? Right, I see. Thank you.
So he's transporting it. He's overseeing transporting Namatame to another hospital. So he's going to have to go to him right now.
We must head there at once.
That bastard. And we're pretty much at the end of this part. So join me next time when we'll be confronting Adachi about all this bullshit. See you next time.